Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime. I'm your online voice for reviews of your choice, and this is another installment of BS Reviews. Today, I will be doing one of my requested anime reviews, and this request comes from YouTube user Dpstq, and he requests that I review the anime series Tenchi Muyo, which is one of the more infamous and classic anime series out there to date. In my opinion, probably one of the best ever made, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take this review one step at a time, shall we? Tenchi Muyo was brought to you by Pioneer Studios. Well, now it's Genyon, I think, is the correct company that owns it. It was directed by Hiroki Hayashi, and it was originally created by Hiroki Hayashi and Masaki Kachishima, who also did the character design. Hiroki Hayashi has also brought us such anime as El Hazard and Bubblegum Crisis. It stars the vocal talents of Celeste Burch as Ryoko, Kermit Miller as Tenchi Misaki, Kristen Tanner as Ayeka, Gee Gee Loo Loo, I kid you not, as Washu, Gene Schwartz as Mihoshi, and Katie Ashley as Sasami and Tsunami. The plot of Tenchi Muyo. Tenchi is a rather dorky young teenager who is reluctantly doing chore work over the summer at his grandfather's temple. He's told about a mysterious cave that lies near the temple that houses the resting place of a demon who has been resting there for thousands of years. Ignoring his grandfather's warnings to stay away from it, Tenchi investigates and accidentally awakens the mummy, who turns out to be a beautiful young woman known as Ryoko, who happens to be an intergalactic space pirate with a large warrant on her head. This attracts the attention of a vengeful princess known as Ayeka, who has come searching for Ryoko because she was the one last seen with her brother who disappeared from her home planet Jirai many years ago. During a series of crazy events, Ryoko and Ayeka both crash their spaceships and are now forced to live on Earth with Tenchi, along with Ayeka's younger princess sister, Sasami, as well as other uninvited guests, such as the ditzy space cop Mihoshi, the crazy but brilliant mad scientist Washu, and villains such as Kagato and Dr. Clay. And Tenchi is just trying to get on with a normal life. Review the plot. For those of you who don't really know this, it's perceived by some and believed by many that Tenchi wasn't one that fact started the entire harem anime series. There are a lot of anime harems out there, but Tenchi is believed and pretty much accepted to be the first one. And it's really hard not to see why, because unlike other harems, not only was Tenchi the first, but he was the first to try so many different things in one series. Today's harems are pretty much generic. They pretty much just have one guy surrounded with a lot of gorgeous girls, and the guy constantly gets pussy whipped and bitch slapped by all the girls and treated like shit, and it's basically a lot of romantic comedy going around. But what really amazes me about Tenchi and what makes it so fan-frickin-tastic is that there's so much heavy story involvement in this show that you never would believe this is a harem anime. This is a show that has insanely large amounts of background information involving the family from Jirai, the sword that Tenchi wields, his history, different aliens, different species, the galaxy police. There is so much history in this show that you never would have thought it's a harem anime. Another big difference that I really admire about this show is that the characters all actually do like Tenchi, where I feel most harem animes just kind of press it on you and force the women to like him for no good reason at all. Whereas here, Tenchi shows again and again that he is worthy of these wacky women's love, not only because of his charms, but because, unlike most harem animes, Tenchi actually is a complete and total badass and has demonstrated incredible special powers, such as light swords and energy attacks like that, which is a big switch from usual harem animes where the guy is a total pussy and just gets walked on by the women who are 10, 50 times stronger than him. Whereas here, the women also have powers, strength, and respect, and are probably on par with Tenchi, if not, below. But it's amazing that all of this can be put into a harem anime. And you never would have thought, just by looking at it, but Tenchi has so much history and background to it that there's so much more going on than you realize. And I completely love that. I love being surprised by a show. Review the characters. This is another reason Tenchi's such a freaking awesome show. It has some of the most memorable and iconic anime characters ever. Just like Neon Genesis Evangelion, the real, memorable point of a show is the characters. I always say a character can take you so much farther into the film or show than a story can. great story, bad story. As long as you have good characters, you won't care. And with Tenchi, you really don't because they're fantastic. Ryoko is a fantastically amazing character. She's beautiful, she's funny, she's sexy, she's troublesome, and she makes such a great little foil couple for Tenchi. And it's just so funny to see how they interact with each other because all this is the show is about. It's just these people interacting with each other. And Tenchi's the most normal guy personality wise, and it's just amusing how easily he accepts all of this weird spaceship stuff. Another great thing about the show is the animosity and fearsomeness between the rivalry of Ryoko and Ayeka, whose tense rivalry is just as memorable and passionate as Goku and Vegeta's is from Dragon Ball Z. Half the show's fun is watching to see how these girls bitch at each other and attack each other and both viciously argue for Tenchi, for his love. My favorite, though, still has to go for Washu, who I think is so amusing and such a weird and unique character. She looks like she's 13, 14. In fact, she's many, many years old, and she hates that, and she's so funny and quirky. She is probably one of the more memorable, characters in the show, if you ask me. I love Sasami. She's very adorable, very cute, and Ryoki is probably the cutest little anime critter ever to be animated since Pikachu. And it's just there's so much going on here to love in this show. Plus, even though there's not as many, considering the show's a short episode length, they've got some really good quality villains in this show. I particularly loved Kagato, who I thought was a really well created, well crafted, well animated villain. Such got a cool evil voice, a twisted, almost opera-like, phantom-like appearance. Then you got Dr. Clay, this old stuffy scientist who has a very distinguishing-looking hair there, and his amusing relationship with Washu just makes him even more funny to see on screen. It's just such a great job they did with the characters here. This is some really quality stuff. Review the animation and the music. Animation was very nice. I mean, the show is filled with such vibrant colors, and every character has his or her own unique, distinguishable color scheme. Even though Ayeka and Sasami are of the same family, they dress so uniquely alike, and the animation makes such well distinction of their appearances that you just love the attention to detail to each character's appearance. The ships, the spaceships, the weapons, the houses, everything has such a unique color scheme to it, and it just looks so beautiful. It's like every episode was like a work of art. Music was so good. Very touching, good tunes, very lovely songs. I particularly absolutely adored the baby song that Washu had for her when they had that baby over the house and all the women were trying to take care of it. I thought that was such a sweet, touching moment to look into Washu's character and use a very touching song. Even though it was in English, I just thought it was so beautiful and touching. Flaws about the show. Probably the only real flaw I can ever possibly see amongst all its perfection is the length. Tenchi started off as just like a 3-episode anime OVA series, and then its popularity gained at another set of episodes, and another, and another, and another, and eventually went up to 13. But then for like 10, 15 years, they didn't finish the storyline that leaves you pretty much on a gigantic ass cliffhanger, and that bothered me because you had this great series, and the only thing that ruined it was the fact that you didn't finish the great story you were working on. I mean, they picked it up many years later, but that's a big problem to do. I mean, that's the only real problem I had with the show. Everything else seemed perfect to me, but it's just like you left us on a really steep note there, and it took you a little bit too long to pick it up. Final wrap up. Aside from the fact that the series ends abruptly and just leaves on a cliffhanger, there is so much magical anime awesomeness to Tenchi that I can't even contain all of it in this one single review. It is a fantastic, marvelous, and wonderful show. It has probably some of the best characters I've ever seen in animation. Tenchi, Ryoko, Ayeka, they're so much fun. They're great voice actors. I mean, Ryoko has such a beautiful voice. Absolutely lovely. I love Washu. She has such a great smart-ass attitude, her personality. You got great actors for all of them. Celeste Burch for Ryoko, Gee Gee Loo Loo for Washu, just funny as all hell. Ayeka, really good with Kristen Tanner. I love Sasami's voice actor, Katie Ashley. I've heard her before. You just got such a great range of characters with beautiful animation, excellent music, and a fantastic story that still to this day has proven that Tenchi is and will probably always be the best harem anime of all time. Bottom line, I give Tenchi Muyo a very enthusiastic 4.5 stars out of 5. Well, that's all for now. This has been Bionic Slime for BS Reviews. Thank you all for listening, and feel free to suggest more reviews for me on my website and YouTube. And bye for now.